Common Sense Network. Today our host is Marilyn Matrisciana, the founder and president of Warriors for Freedom and Justice.
Today I'm going to introduce you to Patti Stockman, who will tell you the shocking story of how deep state progressives, by manipulating our legal system, managed to get her husband, Steve Stockman, a strong two-term Christian congressman, sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Yes, we can do something about this horrible injustice.
Well, my husband, Steve Stockman, has been burdened all the years that I have known him for the state of our nation. And he's seen it sliding towards going over the cliff. And he's wanted to fight to maintain our liberties, fight for our liberties that he sees being encroached upon.
Steve was elected to 2 terms in Congress, first in 1994 under Bill Clinton.
So my husband served 1 term in Congress in the 90s because since he had defeated the 42-year incumbent Democrat, he was the #1 target in the nation to get out of office.
And then in 2014 under Barack Obama.
And he got bad press, crucified in the press constantly. In the 90s, he served on the Whitewater Committee that investigated the Clintons' misdoings then. They had the FBI keeping track of a lot of people that they perceived to be their enemies. A lot of those files were found to be in Hillary Clinton's area of the White House. And we understand that one of the files amongst those was one on my husband. Interesting that they were following my husband back then. Steve Stockman went to Congress not to get reelected, not to get favorable press. He went to Congress to make a difference. But then in 2012, Texas was redistricted because so many people had moved to Texas. And so my husband and I prayed about it, and he decided that he would run for one of those new seats in Congress. He ran, defeated 11 primary opponents.
My husband really angered Secretary Hillary Clinton and the left when he unfurled a 60-foot petition of veterans' signatures calling on the Speaker of the House to establish a special Benghazi investigation committee.
Steve is a member of the congressional team investigating Benghazi, was outraged over the mishandling and the lies of Hillary Clinton and Attorney General Eric Holder when 4 brave men, including the United States Ambassador Christopher Stevens, were murdered.
One of the things he did late in his term was to file a resolution in the House for the arrest of Lois Lerner because she had been found in contempt of Congress. She was refusing to appear before Congress. Steve went on Fox News, 2 different programs on Fox News, one on the Business Network, and 2 weeks later the FBI was at his apartment door. They had already completed a year of investigation of my husband and a grand jury in Washington that had completed its work and had no indictment. But they had called witnesses from his campaign, from his congressional staff, even a car mechanic from several years earlier who Steve had paid to work on his brother's car. They put a new FBI team on his case, and they went relentlessly. They convened 2 more grand juries that we're aware of, and finally, with a 4th grand jury, after over 3 years of investigation, one of Steve's former colleagues pled guilty to, I don't know what, because he wasn't guilty, but he pled guilty to something and pointed his finger at Steve, as we've seen happen by the Justice Department in many instances as they've gone after our president. But he was boarding a plane to go do some business in Dubai, and he was arrested. And it was an evening flight, and I knew that he was running late, so I didn't expect to talk with him before he boarded. The next afternoon, I got a phone call at work, and it was Steve, and he said, "Patti, I'm not in Dubai." And I said, "Oh, well, okay, where are you?" Because often planes get, redirected. And he said, "I'm downtown Houston. I just got out of jail, and I need you to come pick me up." And I hadn't known it. He had been in jail all night, and no one who loved him had any idea where he was.
Sidney Powell, a well-known defense attorney, says if the Justice Department wants you, they will get you.
Of course, everyone wonders, what in the world was Steve convicted of? What was he even charged with? The indictment was so confusing and convoluted, we couldn't even sort it out. The day after Steve was arrested, he stood before a federal magistrate, and she instructed him to have an attorney, I think 3 days later. And he said, "That's 3 days from now." And she said, "Yes, you better get hurrying." I was stunned, but not surprised, because we knew that the Justice Department had been investigating him for years. And in fact, I had been living in constant anticipation that they might come banging down our door at home just any time. It had been just incredibly stressful several years, just not knowing when the shoe was going to drop, because it was very clear to us they were not going to give up until they got my husband. I actually asked for a court-appointed attorney because we had exhausted all of our resources prior to the time that he was indicted and arrested. While we knew he was under investigation, we spent all of our available resources, all of Steve's retirement, all before he was even arrested. So this has been incredibly trying and just breaking of us personally, which of course is what the Justice Department does to conservatives.
I believe it's essential that we, as freedom-loving Americans, do everything we can to get this righteous man released from prison. Congressman Steve Stockman is a righteous man. He is a just man, and he fought for this country in a way that you can never imagine, for our Judeo-Christian values, and that is what has happened to him. The far left has planned and schemed to get him put away. Now he has been fighting, even while in prison, he has been fighting for things that you and I cannot even imagine, in ways to help our country. But he has got a 10-year sentence, so we need to get in now. His wife has been fighting, but she has huge legal fees, and we need a retrial. So please contribute, please be a part to help him and free him from prison. And remember, my friends, nothing is too big and nothing is too small.